Well, hello, everyone. Michelle, hello. Thanks for responding back. We're so excited that you're here today. The day after Easter, Passover's going on, lots of stuff going on this week, and you're here with us, so we appreciate that. I'm Jennifer Courduff. I'm a professor at Azusa Pacific University, and I'd like to introduce you to my co-presenter and actually the star of this particular presentation, Chris.
Hi, my name is Chris Wenger. Hope you guys had a fantastic Easter, and we're getting this weekend started off on a good note here. Let me give you a little bit of background about myself before we jump right into this. I currently work at a high school as a speech pathologist. Prior to doing this, I did a lot of coding for websites, and so my background began with technology, and then I got into education and speech pathology. So it kind of works out great because it covers the ability to infuse technology into education. So part of what we're going to, well, most of what we're going to talk about today is how we can use some of those tools to support our unique learners. And
yes.
So that's what the student series is about. And I'll have Jennifer kind of describe a little bit more about that as well.
So the Speech Dude series, I think this is the fourth presentation we've done in Speech Dude. And we love this series because it's important information to share for helping out our moderate to severe population. So one of the things that happened, Chris is big in Instagram, and I saw this Instagram post from him a while back. He said, working here at Rancho High, run across a huge variety of kids. There are quiet kids and loud kids, athletes and non-athletes, smart kids and happy kids and competitive kids. I've seen it all here at Rancho High School. The cool thing about these kids is that it's all okay. They are all kids who just want to be happy. So no matter what kid comes through my door, I try to make them happy. That will always be the resonating theme in my class. So I was so just inspired by that, and I thought, you know, one of the things that we're doing with our students is helping them to be free. And so we called this the Freedom Series, helping them to celebrate themselves and celebrate their strengths and the magical things about them, and to use those strengths to buffer up those areas of concern or challenge. And so that's the Freedom Series. Some kids are smarter than you. Some kids have cooler clothes than you. Some kids are better at sports than you. It doesn't matter. You have your thing too. Be the kid who can get along. Be the kid who is generous. Be the kid who is happy for other people. Be the kid who does the right thing. Be the nice kid. And I put the tiny URL on that slide. So how are we supporting, our students to inspire them to be the best they can be? So here's a poll. We'd like to hear from you. Yeah. So how do you foster independence for your students? So is it, I don't know, I'm here in this webinar to figure that out, or is it I do, I'm going to post cool ideas in the chat, or is it what does independence look like for moderate to severe students? So I've got one response. Thanks for responding. And if you responded, I do, ideas in the chat, please go ahead and put them there. Because I see 3 people.
Fantastic.
We're going to give you. Go ahead, Chris.
Oh, I was going to say that's what will help out everybody too. The more we can engage in that chat, we can kind of have some more ideas that are thrown out there. And if there are questions along the way, you guys feel free to ask us, and we'll all learn together here. We're here to help you guys.
Well, I'm monitoring the chat right now, and so Reed says visual scheduling. Cynthia says, I try to give the opportunity to be independent each day. Amy says model and then back off. Andrea says universal design. Yeah, totally cool. Switch access. Allow mistakes before jumping in. Cynthia says encourage them to take on challenges. That's awesome. Give them plenty of wait time. I have to do the same thing, man. I talk too fast. I move too fast.
I think that's a big thing, too. Within our field, when we are working with individuals with learning differences, I think that is one of the most prominent things that we can do is allow them that time to process information and allow them that extended time. And I see that
so Chris,
a couple of you guys put out there. So, yeah, processing and responding.
So, Chris, what does extended time look like in your classroom? How much extra time, percentage-wise?
Well, within my area of being a speech pathologist, extended time is a little different for myself, but within the classroom setting, I just think that it's individual for each student, and being able to gauge what that individual needs is the best approach. I don't know if there's a certain answer to this that covers like no blanket answer that would cover all of the kids on extended time, but I think on an individual basis, if you can get that, then that would be the way to go about it.
So I'm going to give it about another minute. 10 people have responded. Those of you who haven't responded yet, go ahead and respond, because once I move to the next slide, the poll goes away. We have 3 so far that have said, what does independence look like? Chris, do you want to talk to that a little bit while we're waiting for the rest of the poll to come in?
Right. So it could be a variety of things. I really think that the participant feedback, you guys are really hitting home on a lot of these things. Reed had mentioned allow for mistakes before jumping in. I really like that. I think that you have to give them an opportunity, see where they're at first to gauge where that baseline's at. And then from there, we can help with the additional support needed, whether it's maybe a little extra time, maybe it's repetition, maybe it's a certain technology tool that can help support to really foster that independence. And so I think that's very helpful. I see that Linda mentioned finding their strengths and interests and needs really helps foster that independence as well. I work with a large population of individuals with autism. I currently have 45 students with autism on my caseload. So that's my day in, day out, and really finding their strengths, especially their interests. If we can tie in some lessons based on some of their interests, you will really see them shine. And that really helps with that independence as well.
Okay, I'm going to skip to the results. So 76% of you said I do. Ideas in the chat. 21% of you, 20% of you said, what does independence look like? I went to 80-20. And nobody said, I don't know, that's why I'm here. So that's fun. We're going to share with you a lot of resources today in our next 50 minutes. So here's a picture of Chris with his kiddos, and he got parental permission for us to use these pictures in the webinar. Don't worry, we're doing everything very much by the book. But what does freedom look like? Freedom to be who you are. Freedom to see the ability instead of the disability, and joy. Chris is the one in the middle, by the way, in case you're wondering which one is Chris.
Goofy.
Yeah, it's awesome. Okay, so what is untethered learning? That's a pretty big question. So it's the ability to learn anywhere, anytime, and part of what we do is we really encourage our students to safely use their mobile devices to learn and to foster a sense of curiosity in the things they want to know about and the things that they can do. So go ahead, Chris, you're on.
Yeah, so a couple of those things we really like to hit home with too, since students now these days, well, I see that there's some of you guys working with very, very young age groups, and iPads and Chromebooks can still help for the little guys, but a lot of our students, especially for my population with the high school kids, is they have cell phones. So it's a matter of coming up with different ideas, really, to use those mobile devices and the support that they might have, such as access to the computers and Chromebooks, and use things so that way they have access. there's a couple things that we want to target, and we'll talk about those today. Are what are some of the apps and some websites that we can use to foster that independence. And a lot of those features and apps will target areas such as their ability to express themselves, so the communication part. We are going to talk about a really neat Chrome extension to help with writing, and this really will help for a lot of learners. It's a very, very broad target for it. And then some things with reading and accessibility. I did note in there that we're not going to really talk about accessibility today because myself and Dr. Courduff have a couple other webinars that we've done, and you guys can just search for those within AbleNet if you're interested in learning more about the accessibility features. But the accessibility features are great for all learners. And so to be up to date and knowledgeable about how students can use those features are within those with those previous webinars. So yeah, we're going to get into some apps and ways to foster that. So I'm going to jump here to the next slide. There we go. And we'll talk about our first one. And some of you guys might have heard about this app. It's called Pic Collage, and it can be used on any platform. So on the iPad, it can be used within the Android system and within the iOS system for Apple. And this is one of my favorite apps. It's not really targeted towards education, but it can be repurposed into education. And there was one thing I didn't put on here that was probably the most important part of it is that's free. I should have put that in big bold letters because we all like free. It was initially made for individuals to create just picture collages for Instagram, and there's many, many uses for using Pic Collage. And so what it does is it allows you to combine images into a photo collage, and it goes way beyond what we're used to doing from the past, which is searching through magazines and having to get the scissors out and cut little pictures from magazines and put it onto your poster board and then get the glue out. This is a much easier approach to develop language, to hit home with any curriculum. And I use this with my mod to severe students. So we were fortunate to have a couple of iPads in the class, and then I grouped the students together, and based on whatever lesson it is that we use or the topic is that we use for the day, we'll follow it up with them recapping what the lesson was with a Pic Collage. And so I'll give you some examples of what those might look like here in a short time. There's an update that came out, and there's a new app. It's a kids edition version of this. The main version between Pic Collage and the kids edition is that the kids edition does not have any social media features on it. So it won't connect over to the Instagram and Facebook. The reason why that's good is because sometimes with comments and sometimes with other pictures within social media, they're not always the most appropriate. So this eliminates that, and the kids edition only would work with the photos that you put on there. The other nice thing about it is that when you're searching for photos on the web, it has a very restrictive search menu that when it searches through pictures, it makes sure that the pictures are appropriate. Sometimes when you just do a Google image search and you type in a word and pictures will come up that you weren't expecting, this one's not like that. It really has it's a clean version of pictures, and so it's kid friendly and it's user friendly. And so that's what I like about it. I have a couple things that I've put on this slide here with ways that I use it as well. You can visually summarize things, as I said, as a recap. It's great for all ages, to be honest with you, and all learners as well. You can make associations with things. You can expand categories. The biggest thing, getting students engaged. And this fosters the independence thing too, because it's something that the end result looks professional, but it's really easy to create something through Pic Collage. And A couple other things I was going to mention before I give you some examples that I've created is that as you go through, there's many other features you can use it for. So not just for your students, but what I do is I use it for if we have an event at the school. So we recently had an event at the high school that was more like a Special Olympics event where we have all the students come to our campus. And so I created a poster using this app. And so, yeah, if you have events coming up, maybe the students are going to be in a rally or maybe there's a community event. This is a really easy way for you guys to create flyers and posters as well. Because, yeah, you can search for any kind of photo. You can resize and arrange and rotate. And you can decorate things. You can add text. And the really cool thing about it within the app, too, is that you can do the AirPrint feature. So right when you're done with your final product, you just hit the print button and it'll AirPrint it over to your, if you have that. If you don't, then there's features that you can just quickly email it to yourself within the app. But I have found it to be a really fun and engaging way to get students to really learn what it is that we need them to learn. And so let me put up a couple of examples of what I have done. Actually, I created these this morning, for examples that were some things that were recent. So let's do this. I'm going to hit share my desktop, and you should be able to see my end. So this one I created where what I do here is all you have to do, it comes up with several grid forms, and this one had 3 pictures on the top, 2 on the right, and then 1 main picture. So I put several different components that related to Easter within here. You can say add text. I can add the different colors. With my fingers, I can resize, crop, edit. It's just with the pinch of your finger on those things. In order to get these images, you can just do a search on the web, and there's another feature where you can search for GIFs. Actually, they pronounce it GIF, but it's spelled GIF. And so those are going to be more of the really quick snippet animated images. And at first when I was using those, I thought maybe that the animated pictures didn't really go with the flow and it would be distracting for our kids. But there are ways that you can use some of those things to really engage the students for actions and sequences. And so that's what I use those for. But as you can see, I picked the Easter Bunny so they can describe the Easter Bunny up here. And we can talk about the Easter eggs, what size, what shape, what color. Talk about the food that comes along with Easter and the candy. What are the most common traditions, little peeps. We talk about what are some other things of why we have Easter. Everybody likes Easter baskets. And then, of course, this is another little animated one on the bottom right. So that was one example that I put together, and that just, only takes about a minute to do. So you can make a really neat looking of collage, within a matter of minutes and save it and print it. Another example that I did was we use it to tie into, here, let me make my screen a little bit bigger here. So,
hey, Chris.
Yeah,
before you go on, and Linda asked, are you teaching your students how to search and copy legally? That's a real-world skill. So can you speak to that real quick?
Absolutely. So let me minimize this while we have you up here. So what we do when we do that on Google, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay. And so what I do when I teach the students how to search images safely and legally is just within the Google search. So let me turn this thing on real quick. Down here in the corner, you have your settings. And so I teach my students about the settings. And honestly, I don't know if a large amount of people, I should say, know about the settings for teachers too on searching. So I teach them about these features. And so we'll go into the settings, and then we click on advanced search. And again, this is what I teach all my students every time they come in, because they're on the Chromebooks a lot. So within here, there's a lot of different features, but one of them, to answer that question that you're asking specifically, is going to be right here, safe search. So that way they know. And then another one that's important too, when I do presentations and when we present things and upload them to blogs, we want to make sure that the pictures that we're searching and saving are not licensed pictures. And so if you just do a basic Google search with images, sometimes they might not be licensed, and so that's a way to cover grounds there. But yeah, there's some cool features that are within the advanced search engine. But that's how I target it. I teach my students that. I educate the staff members. So when we have our department meetings at the beginning of the year, that's one thing I quickly show them. Hey, you guys, if you're working with your students at the very beginning of the year, this is something that you can teach all your students. It's going to take you 2 minutes. And so that way they know how to do the safe search.
And Chris, while I've got you, I'm sorry to, Linda says, great. I'm sorry to interrupt again. Okay, so Charlotte says, what was the pop-up that had the color where you drew the red line? Well, it's a feature of ReadyTalk, but you might want to go quickly through the annotation that you use for your students, because you have another cool.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So within exactly what Jennifer is saying, there's a feature within a ReadyNet that has it. But so you're gonna, in order to get this, what you want to do is you want to make sure you're using the Google Chrome browser. So let me show you that real quick while we're here. Google Chrome browser. So you're not going to want to use Internet Safari. You're not going to want to use Internet Explorer. Google Chrome. So when you're in Google Chrome, the extension that you're talking about is up here. It's called Page Marker. So I can mark up any page. So if I'm teaching my class, or for example today, I'm able to mark up anywhere on the screen. I can change the color of it. I can change the tool size. I can erase things. So yeah, let me show you here. So if I wanted to make it bigger, if I wanted to change the color, I can do that as well. So yeah, it's a pretty cool little extension. Page Marker is what it's called. Let me get back here. So I hope that answered some questions. And we'll go back. One other example, and then I'll move forward. So as I mentioned to you guys, Pic Collage, I also use it so my students can really connect with each other. So I had my assistant, I told her, I said, hey, today, if you wouldn't mind, can you use Pic Collage, and I want you to create something with all of the things that you're interested in. So not only myself can learn a little bit more about you, but the students can learn. And so I do this with the students too, where they're basically creating a Pic Collage, and we can put it up in the class and hang it, of them. And so it really fosters that communication. And communication is key. And that's kind of going back what Jennifer was mentioning with my Instagram posts and some of the pictures. That's what it's all about, getting these kids to have fun, even though they all have learning differences. I think really doing things where they can connect with each other and relate with each other is a huge stepping point. So this is just an example. Just looking at this Pic Collage, I know that she likes mint and chip ice cream. She's a Dodgers fan. She likes Disneyland. Looks like she's an Italian eater. She likes pizza, and then she loves spending time with her family. So this just gives me a quick snapshot, and it really would help foster that expressive and communicative part within the classroom. So those are a couple examples. But again, to make a collage like that only takes a couple minutes. For those students who are more cognitively challenged, it might take a little longer, but honestly, I've had every single one of my students be able to create these. So it's fantastic in the Mod Severe class. I always never underestimate these kids' abilities, and they always do an amazing job. The end result looks professional too. So the cool thing about it is that you bring one of these collages to the IEP meeting, and the parents are like, wait a minute, my child created that? Yep, all by themselves. Didn't even have to have any prompting, no cueing, no adult support. They did it on their own. So Pic Collage is a wonderful free app. So I'm going to come back to thing here. There we go. And we should be back. And then we are going to go to the next tool that I love using. And some of you may have heard of this. I'm going to get you a little bit more details on this. Before I get into talking about what it is, I am going to use the video that they have on their website. It's about 2 minutes long, and it's really giving that visual from the video will kind of take over anything I'll even be describing about it. I'll give you a couple things before I show you the video. I wasn't able to download it because it's embedded within their website, so I'm hoping that you guys won't get any feedback and that the video will run smooth. In the event that it doesn't look like it's running smooth, just type it over in the feedback form, and then I'll just be able to narrate for you. So let's do that. Let's jump over to my desktop. It should be here. I'm going to come over to CoWriter, and let me increase this, and we're going to come to the beginning of the video, and we should be good. I hope it doesn't get too much feedback.
In its simplest form, writing is recording, but the best writing goes deeper. It comes from the human desire to communicate, to take an idea and express it for others to take in. What is Mona Lisa thinking about? I remember the day, how it affected my spirit. But for some people, the words don't come out right. There's a wall between idea and expression. Grammar and spelling get in the way. Word recall is a barrier. That's where CoWriter comes in. CoWriter sharpens writing like eyeglasses sharpen poor vision. He traveled 240,000 miles from Earth. And now, CoWriter Universal works on just about any device you write with. Write at school on a Chromebook.
Neil Armstrong was.
Pick your text back up at home on your iPad.
First, listen. 2, walk on the moon.
It's anytime, anywhere access. Let's see how it works. Just think and start typing.
Love.
This CoWriter helps you along. CoWriter gives you the words and phrases you're searching for as you type, even if your grammar and spelling are way off.
Painting.
And with topic dictionaries, you'll be surprised at your ability to write on complex subjects with challenging vocabulary. With 4 million topics available, from Alexander Graham Bell to Zygote, you'll never have a school subject that isn't covered.
The Mona Lisa.
Take those topic dictionaries and use CoWriter in applications like Microsoft Word. Go to the web and write an email. Websites. Blogs. And Google Drive. The topic dictionaries you create and the settings you choose carry over when you pick up the next device and the next device, at home, at school, or on the road. So you can express your ideas in writing anytime and anywhere. Learn more at donjohnston.com/CoWriter.
It's actually not free, but it's a $35 license for an iPad. It works really well. It's a heavy duty. Well, it's more expensive if you do a desktop version, but it works really, really well on an iPad. So for $35 a year, it's a great deal. I know that Chris will be back in a minute, so I'm just going to keep going. It works on a desktop, a laptop, or an iPad. What is the age grade level? It goes all the way down to primary grades. Cynthia, works really, really well for the little kids as well. There's a web link right here in the slide for learningtools.donjohnson.com. The company is great, and we shouldn't be like promoting a company, but they do provide a lot of support, a lot of training on the use of co-writers, so it's really worth the money. And they do differentiate down to primary age kids and then all the way up for our high school transitional students. So this is the first time this has ever happened. I know Chris is going to work on calling back right away. So we're going to go on. So why do we untether learning? Because it puts the controls into the hands of the students. And many of you have talked about that in our first poll. It supports enthusiasm for learning and teaching, and teaches students to be creative in thinking and problem solving. Let's keep going. So we teach our children, our students, to be creative in thinking and problem solving, which is really super supportive of them, especially with moderate to severe disabilities, where they feel really enabled to go forward and be able to do things on their own. That really raises self-esteem. So, advice from a tree. This was another quote on Chris's Instagram. Stand tall and proud. Go out on a limb. Remember your roots. Drink plenty of water. Be content with your natural beauty and enjoy the view. Good. I think that's pretty good advice for everybody. So let's keep going. So communication tools. It's really important for us to have communication tools that have a home school connection. That's why, as you all know, I'm preaching to the choir, but an IEP is a team process, and if you develop strong ties, you got it. Yay!
So it just caught me out. So when I called back, I'm sorry, I called back and it wasn't getting me through. So now I'm back.
Okay. So what we did, Chris, is we went over untethered learning a little bit. We've got 24 minutes, so we're going to move on from John Johnson and talk about communication tools, homeschool connection, transition to high school, or whatever is next. So why don't you go ahead and start talking about custom boards. Again, we have 24 minutes, so we need to keep going.
Yeah, fantastic. Earlier, when the question was posed, what does independence look like, we had a variety of responses, and I saw a resonating theme there with a lot of visual schedules. Custom Boards is one of my absolute favorite apps. It's my go-to app, and it has really a huge variety of ways that you can use it. So what Custom Boards is, it's not free, but what I will tell you this. I will tell you that it'll save you tons of money in the end with the features that it will help you create. There are other programs out there that will create symbols and images for communication boards, and those can run about I'd say around $200 to $300 now for the program. Some are a little bit more pricier, and I'm referring to the ones where you can create a different, like maybe an 8-grid board where you'll put in your symbols and then you can print them out. Those take a little bit longer. They're not as user-friendly, and then they cost more. Custom boards, I want to say the last time I looked it was $55. So for $55, it really has a ton of features, and you can create tons of lesson plans. So yeah, basically, it's a simple board and activity creator. You can create tons of activities and a variety of different boards, and I'll show you that on the next couple slides. But back to that independence, it creates visual supports for all learners. If you want to create a visual schedule for a student, for example, if they have the earthquake drill that day, you can create a visual schedule for the whole day in about 1 to 2 minutes. And it's that easy. So that would just be one example of using it. Within the app, there are over 15,000 symbols. So when you're doing a search, it's really easy to find the symbols. And if you don't want to use the symbols that are embedded in the app itself, there's a web search feature as well. So you can put images from Google Images as well. So it's really pretty easy to customize. For parents, it's really, I like to share this with parents too, because a lot of times at their house and out in the community, they use schedules as well. But there's some other things that they can use it for too. They can create books really simply, greeting cards with simple templates, and create activities every day that are visually appealing for our students. Because most of our students are, with the ones that we work with on IEPs, are visual learners. And so that always helps as well. For the special ed teacher, it's really easy to create any kind of activity. You can create word walls, different kinds of classroom signs. When the holidays come around, I like to create whatever, even if it's not a holiday, whatever's coming, if it's someone's birthday in the class, easily create lesson plans and visual things for the students. Really makes it easy to create homework activities for them. And again, back to the title of the presentation, it's really a fantastic tool for your moderate severe learners. So I highly recommend this.
Chris, is it available for Android? I found one on Google Play. Is it available for Android?
I do not believe, but maybe. I don't think it is. I think it's only for the iOS system.
I found one called Custom Soundboard that might work because it's a customizable board. So I put it into the chat. It might work. It's on Google Play. It's worth a try, everybody.
I'm going to pull it up real quick. I see that someone had wrote back it's at 100. Oh, my gosh. So, yeah, it doubled in price probably because of the popularity and because of the updates and additions, but I didn't realize that it had jumped up that much. So for $130, it's still half the price of some of those other programs that you're going to see out there that would create just one template. This one has a variety. So what I'm going to do, so this one has 130 templates. If you can see on here, on this slide that I put up, you can see that you can create activities and games. Let me see if I can use this little tool here to highlight it as well. But yeah, we have activities and games. Color. Devices and switches. So up in this area right here, the devices and switches is a really cool feature because if you have students that are using AAC devices, maybe they have a GoTalk, you can click on the devices and switches and they'll have the template within the app. So you can insert your symbols and your images within a couple of seconds. That's always been the tough one in the past if we were using a GoTalk 9 or a GoTalk 20, or if we were using like an overlay. This is much easier. Saves your life, and it saves all that time for creating those things. You can create signs and labels. So again, with our moderate to severe population, creating signs and labels and really helping them out for that functional and independence level, this is the way to go for that. Grids and boards are really easy. You can create activities and games, a bingo game, different kinds of board games. Honestly, the possibilities of this are endless. And it's really easy to send things home. Again, when I go to the IEPs, I like to bring a lot of samples based on what we've done with custom boards into there. So that's custom boards, and I find it fantastic. Are there any questions on that? I'm trying to look over here. So we'll move on to the next.
Yeah, I found some custom boards for iTunes with Android and iOS that are a lot lower cost, not as robust as this custom board, but still a good place to start if you're not sure you want to commit to $129. I've broadcasted that to everyone. So there you go.
I thought it had jumped up that much. But I still find it, for that price, the way you might want to tie it in to the school district, possibly Medi-Cal funds, and mention with whoever your Medi-Cal coordinator is that there is a program called Custom Boards that creates communication boards for all your students who are nonverbal. It creates visual schedules, so it prevents your behavioral therapist or whoever does your visual schedules at the district, when they have to create them, you can create them really easy. And just tie it into things like that, that really what they would be spending their money on. And I think that's what you'd be able to get the district to cover it. I know that because that's the angle I go with some of these things. And it seems to work out pretty well. If they can see you're spending $130 versus having to hire somebody to come in and create all those things, or you kind of always constantly have to contact your rep who got your AAC device for communication purposes, you can eliminate all of that. It saves a lot of money in the end. But yeah, although it sounds steep, it's really worth it.
Yeah. Okay, we got about 16 minutes.
Okay. So there is, so we're transitioning into that last one. And so this is a free thing for our mod to severe students. And this targets the transition components. It's real-world scenarios, as it mentions, with a lot of interactive games and visual. So I put a link to get to all of the topics right there in the slide presentation. So if you type in that link, it'll take you directly to where I'm going to go right now. So I'm going to share my screen and show you what that's all about. And we don't have a lot of time, so I'll go through it just real briefly. We will increase this store. We're going to type in And when you get to the website, that link that I was telling you about is going to take you over here to this all topics. And for our students, if you scroll down, there's a section right here called Everyday Life. And this targets all of our students for their transition plan as well. So if you're working with those kids who are 16 and older on IEPs, this is a fantastic resource for them. And this is what it looks like. So when you go into food and cooking, they have interactive games, and it's all real-life scenarios. And so one thing to note, you cannot access these games through Google Chrome because the Flash player, for whatever reason, won't allow you to do it. So you can do it on Firefox, you can do it in Internet Explorer, you can do it on Safari, but Google Chrome just won't allow it. But anyway, so that link that I put in the website is going to take you right to there. And so, so give it an idea to see what you can use that for. Perfect. All right, Jennifer, I'm going to have you get this next one.
All right, so it helps if I unmute. So we also really want to encourage safe and appropriate use of social media to foster independence and learning. There's a lot of buzz around cyber safety and social media safety and teaching our kids how to be safe online. It needs to be implemented deeply when we're using social media. And it's a great place for kids to really express themselves. And it's an amazing thing for you. It's an opportunity for you as the teacher to teach them how to be safe online and how to avoid those pitfalls. Again, one of you said that, let them make mistakes. Teach them how to get out of a bad place and teach them how to go back and teach them what an inappropriate space looks like. This is really important for our kids. To model that behavior, to support the kids in their adventuresomeness, but also to keep them safe while doing so. So Chris uses Instagram a lot with his kids. Of course, he has written parental permission to have their faces on Instagram, but it's a great way, as this picture shows, he's writing on the varsity team, and I got a home run every game. It's a great way to promote and foster celebration and independence, and really moving on in those social skills for his kids. We also use Facebook and Twitter. There's huge, I want to encourage you all because there's a huge AAC-AT presence on Twitter. There's a lot of great communities. For example, hashtag ATChat has some really, it's a very robust community, really great resource. So I'll put that one in here. I love Twitter for all things AT and AAC. Anyone that wants a list of great Twitter sites, just send us an email and I'll be happy to share those with you. Why do we use it? Because they use it. So how can we teach them to use social media to learn? So how do we use it? Chris, you want to speak into that real quick, and then we'll move on to Pinterest real quick while we have some time.
Yeah, so for social media, and there's a couple, just a couple different things with social media. I follow a lot of educators, but a lot of people aren't aware that you can follow hashtags. So for if it's assistive technology and I want to see what the latest and greatest or what people are doing within their classroom, I'll follow the hashtag ATChat. Or for my world with speech language pathologists, I'll follow the hashtag SLP. And so every time someone uploads something and it's a popular upload, it'll come within my feed. And you can do that within Instagram. And I don't know if a lot of people knew that you can follow hashtags, but following hashtags is a really effective way of using it for educational purposes. Again, I work with high school students, so I try and educate them on those things as well. But I also talk about how text and the photo-based communication doesn't always carry the same messages. You know, they don't have the inflection and the tone of voice and those kinds of things. So I can use it as an educational tool as well. And so we'll teach them through a variety of things. I'm going to share my screen for 1 second here. On Teachers Pay Teachers, I downloaded this. It's only $4, but it's got a variety of scenarios with different screens for texting and social media. And so I can break it down and we'll talk about what is the intended meaning or what was the message or how should we reply to a message like this. And then I can make it my own. And then we can talk about what it is that they were thinking about texting or how can we reply based on the context. And it's a lot of fun doing that. And it's a very approachable way with our students. Again, so I have students in the Mod Severe class. And they're on Facebook and they're on Instagram, or if they're limited in social media, they still text. And so I still talk about these kinds of things, and we'll do it as a group lesson. And so that's a nice little resource. Jennifer, I think you might be on mute.
I am on mute again. Okay, so now I'm not. So I was never a Pinterest follower for a long time because I just thought it was a way to collect recipes or fluffy stuff. But actually, there's a huge Pinterest following for AT and for AAC and for SLPs. So here I'm going to share my screen. Feel free to follow me on Pinterest. So I have a board called Special Education Tips, Tricks, and Tools, and I collect websites and ideas and posters right here on this board. And what's nice is if you teach, well, this board has a lot of editable resources for you to use. Some things on Teacher Pay Teacher. One person I love to follow is Emily Borgen-Waters, and the other one is Lauren Enders. They've got some great boards for AT, for SLP, and for AAC. So don't be afraid, and don't let your students be afraid of all the resources that you can find on Pinterest. It's just a great place to put stuff so it's like a one-stop board, a visual representation of resources that are out there for you. So there's that. And I need to unshare. There we go. We're going to, so quizzes is another thing. Chris, you want to talk about quizzes real quick?
Well, I would encourage, we're not going to have enough time to go over too much on quizzes. However, what I can tell you is if you guys are familiar with Kahoot, Kahoot is more popular right now in the sense that it's been around a little bit longer, and it's a interactive and engaging way to get kids to learn through the game-based play. And so quizzes is very similar. The only the big difference between the two is that it puts the quiz on the student's device rather than them having to look up at the board where it's being presented. And I really like that because and it's not as competitive. Sometimes when you do interactive games and you do that as the whole class and it becomes competitive, then you get one student who's always winning, and then it's not fun for everybody else. So I tend to find quizzes to be something that I use a little bit more. I also like the fact that when working with moderate to severe disabled students, and this ranges from my kindergarten students that I work with at the private practice all the way up to the high school, you can make the answers image-based, so they don't even have to have any kind of literacy skills. And that's kind of cool, too. So you can read them the question, and then they can answer based on the picture. And the best thing about it is it's free. So give that explore that whenever you get an opportunity.
Right, and I just posted in here a link to our massive Google Doc that has apps, websites, resources for all things assistive technology, SLP, AAC. There's organizations, there's Twitter handles that we follow, there's Pinterest boards that we follow. So it's pretty robust and it's ongoing. We started in about 2012 and we just keep updating it regularly. So there's that. You can go ahead and save that link if you're interested, if that would help you with things. As we wrap up, this kind of is a great quote. So implementation of all these things. We've thrown several really good resources that we loved at you today, and I would say take a breath and just remember it's not easy, and implementation isn't easy, but if you just choose one tool and say, okay, for the next month I'm going to try this one thing, not everything all at once. So our plan is to ride that bike on a straight line and have it be okay. But in reality, it's full of bumps and holes and clouds and rain, and we all know that. But if we just keep on doing it one thing at a time, one day at a time, implementation is manageable. So it's doable in small steps. And we have another poll for you. So in our next series, we're doing a session 2 of the Freedom Series in September. I believe it's September 23rd. So we'd like to hear from you. What are the kinds of things would you enjoy hearing about in Freedom Series Part 2? TK tools, which is transitional kindergartners, those little ones, the 3 to 5-year-olds. Online communities where you can get support in your learning and professional development, or transition strategies. TK to elementary, elementary to middle, middle to high school to moving out into the workforce. So I'm going to give about a minute more to hear what you all would love to hear from us in September. So far I see 14 people with transition, 5 people with TK, and 2 people for online communities. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
We want to make it worth your while. We want you to come back. So give it about 1 more minute. Anyone else want to respond? Total 19. So what we have so far is lots of people want to hear about transition strategies. There are several of you that are interested in TK tools, and that will be fun. to do. And then there are several of you that are interested in online communities. As a reminder, the link to the Google Doc that I just put into I broadcasted out to everyone in the chat, that has a tab for online communities through Twitter and through Pinterest. So that'll get you started on that as we work towards our presentation in September. Okay, well, there's our contact information. If you have questions, if you have things that you're confused about or you need help with, we'd love to hear from you. So there's contact information and Twitter handles for both of us. And we've had participants from past presentations that are like, hey, we saw your speech student, I really need help with this or that. And that's been real fun for us. We love to work with you and help you out. We are almost out of time. Thank you so much for participating in this webinar today. We really appreciate it, and we appreciate your little bit of patience with our technology glitch. So, Chris, you want to wrap it up?
We appreciate you guys participating. Yeah, and exactly what Jennifer mentioned. Any questions or anything that you guys have in your mind, feel free to email us and reach out. We're here to answer any questions, or if maybe I ran through something a little too quickly and you need a little bit more clarification, feel free to reach out. I work in 2 speeds, fast and faster. So we do appreciate you guys, your attendance today.
And we do, and we appreciate your feedback too. So please go ahead and fill out the survey as soon as we log out here, and so we can get your feedback to make it even better next time.